midnight to 11 p.m.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now can I have a motion on the, or a vote on the motion as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Transfers, motion to approve wire transfers for payroll transmittals in the amount of $371,077.91.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. We do not have a finance director's report tonight. Any communications or any other miscellaneous business? Hearing none.
Move to
Motion
adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 6 p.m.
Do you want to skip committee of the whole and do it last?
Yeah, do you guys, is it all right if we switch committee of the whole till after?
Fine with me.
Council, because we have the public hearing coming. Yes, there are 2 people here for committee whole. Let me just, wait, let me see.
Let's see what that is before. Is that for the festival?
It's going to be talking, so maybe, I don't know.
It's at 6:15, right?
6 is council.
What time's the public hearing?
Yeah, I
Set
think
for
it's going to be
6?
a whole, usually we
6,
just
okay.
talk.
That's my only concern. I don't know how fast you can do cow. If you can do cow really fast, we're good, but what if it's much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't
Yeah.
know. 'Cause if
All right, we'll bounce in and out. What we're going to do is, we're going to start council. Follow me on this. We're going to start council. We'll get the public hearing and anything else out of the way that has people here. We'll adjourn council, go to cow, take care of the 2 gentlemen that are here for the 2 issues on cow, and then go back and finish. New Berlin does this all the time.
makes
Trust
sense.
me.
It makes sense. It'll work.
Well,
All right. Call the order the Common Council for the City of Muskego for 7/14 at 6:01 p.m. Roll call.
Alderpersons Madden,
Here.
Kubaki,
here.
Engelhardt,
Here.
Kapusta,
Here.
Terrence,
Here.
Hamel,
Here.
and Wolf.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Statement of public notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Public comment.
I don't know if these people want to speak again or if they
I'm
just-
not sure. So you, the 2 of you that filled out your forms, do you want to speak again and pretty much probably say the same thing, or are you guys good? Now, is there anything you want to add? I mean, you can do that.
I think that having 500 people in our neighborhood, even if it's for
If you're gonna talk, I need you to come up to the microphone for the record, so.
Lynn Bruskowitz, Boxhorn Drive. I think having 500 people for the music, which is always loud, because he's had other bands in the past couple of years, and it's always loud. I can hear it at my house, a quarter mile away. And that many people with that many cars, that would be, say, if you have 2 people per car, that's 250 cars. I don't know which 2 yards he's talking about, but I don't see them. Parking would still be a problem, and getting in and out of our road. When somebody's parked, like part on the grass, part in the ditch, it's still hard to maneuver through the road. And I just don't see this being a good thing for our neighborhood. So, thank you.
Anything you want to amend to yours?
Doug Friedrich, South 90, West 13950, Boxhorn Drive. This is how loud the patio music is. That's on his patio. I'm on my patio. This is on the table. Way more than 60 feet from my house. You guys have given them plenty of opportunities as far as dance hall or dance permits outside. Have this stuff inside. It's loud enough inside. Put them inside. It's where they are all winter.
Thank you. All right, moving on, communications from the mayor's office. Month. No, but, you know, you'll be able to circle around, you'll be able to go through. They were originally planning on doing this in August and having it done by September. I'm sure the school district is ecstatic with this, but we'll work around it. So just a heads up, there is, I guess they have some information on their website, and we have a link on ours to it. They just don't have that date down yet, but that's all I have for communications. You want to read the notice of public hearing?
To consider the petition of John Hoylan of Cornerstone Development to rezone property located on Loomis Road, State Highway 36, known as tax key numbers 2258.074, 2258.996.001, and 2259.970, and part of tax key numbers 2261.978.003 and 2264.999 from B4 Highway Business District to RM1 Multiple Family Residence District and PD 38 Stone Ridge Plan Development District to PD Plan Development District based on the RM2 Multiple Family Residence District for the purpose of allowing a development of 2-family and 4-family homes. The 2020 comprehensive plan also is proposed to be amended from commercial use to high-density residential use to medium-density residential use.
Thank you. So as was mentioned, it's a rezoning. The current property has 3 different zoning classifications. In the past, this property came forward with some really rough conceptual drawings that laid out the current zoning and the current land use maps as they sit today. On those plans, you'll see that the part fronting Loomis Road was a commercial zoning B4. The part that was kind of in the back of the property was an RM1, which is our most dense multifamily district. And then there's a small section in the very north part of this, which was actually an old outlot from the Stonebridge subdivision. It was always known that this land was landlocked and it was adjacent to this land that's now in question. So we always thought that whatever happened on this property would happen on that small section of outlot in Stonebridge, which is exactly what the proposal today is showing. So it definitely is kind of what the city thought would happen out there in some form or some land use. So the request is to rezone the property from those 3 districts to the planned development district. And the planned development would all be based on the RM2 zoning. The RM2 is less dense than the RM1 that exists on part of the property today. It's about a 43.37 acre site. They're proposing 80 ranch-style condo units. There'll either be 14 2-family buildings and 13 4-family buildings, or double duplexes as they call them. There will be a clubhouse with amenities on the site as well. The development will include internal private roads that will stem off of an entrance drive, which the driveway that currently leads to the golf course, a good portion of that is going to be publicly dedicated as a public road and improved to public road standards. And then the private roads will stem off of that development. As far as the density for this development goes, it's a total of 27 buildings, and it breaks down to about 1.84 units per acre, or 1 unit for every 23,631 square feet of land. This density falls well within the medium-density residential land use category, which allows up to 2.99 units per acre. And they are requesting to go to that medium-density land use as part of this request also. The RM2 zoning allows 10,000 square feet of land per dwelling unit, and their proposal also fits within that allowance. The applicant is not asking for any type of density bonus as part of this request. Other things that commonly come up as part of these types of requests are open space and floor area ratio. Both of those requirements are more than significantly met without any kind of waivers being requested in this development. And like I said, as I noted, the comprehensive plan, bless you, is being changed from commercial and high-density residential, at least as part of the proposal, and it's proposing going to a medium-density residential land use. The email I just passed out a minute ago was the only comment I received ahead of this meeting, and it was from Bill and Carol Evers, and they asked that I read this. Thanks for allowing me to discuss this new development along Highway 36 near Muskego Lakes Golf Course. We live in the Stonebridge subdivision along the South Retention Pond. Our concern is how close the buildings will be to our home and what landscaping will be done between our subdivisions. You indicated, and when he refers to you, he meant me, indicated that the tree line near the wetlands will be removed. We are hoping that the developer will plant some trees to replace the tree line. Also, some type of berm along the northern property edge to our property is requested. Thank you for agreeing to relay our concerns. Thank you, Bill and Carol Evers. So that was the only public comment that I received ahead of time.
Does anyone else want to make a comment on this, discuss? Should we have the developer come up first, or what do you do typically? Would the developer like to come up and say a few words? All right.
I just didn't want to assume any familiarity with what we have done in other spots. And I thought it would be beneficial, maybe I'll bring it over here, to talk through this plan for the neighborhood and how it lays out, so that everybody has an understanding of what this entails. I tend to move a lot. Do you hear? Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, but you might want to take the microphone out if you're walking around.
Okay, okay. So first of all, thank you for coming tonight for this meeting. I appreciate it very much. I'm John Whalen with Cornerstone Development, and this is Alan Peters with True Vine Development. Alan acts as a consultant. He's got engineering background and a ton of civil work throughout the Metro Milwaukee area. So he has teamed up with us to assist and do the things that are necessary to bring a neighborhood that will work to your community. So we built the Glenette Pellman Farm, which I think you're familiar with perhaps, along Woods Road, kind of right between Racine and Durham. And that's gone really well. We've been very pleased to work here. And then we came to learn that this parcel of land may be available to do such down on the south side of the city. And what we're excited about in laying this out, yes, we will have potentially 80 homes here, or units, with a bigger clubhouse than Pellman. And we also would love to put a pickleball court in, maybe a couple bocce courts, depending on the fit and how that all works here at the entrance. So you'd come in off of Loomis and turn in, and as was mentioned by Adam, thanks Adam, the road, this will turn into a public road, and that'll get built to the standards and repaired. But the tree line will stay. We love that tree line and that entry. You then turn right and come into the neighborhood here. And we would have that clubhouse and the amenities right here. Can you see all right? Should I? Okay.
They have a copy of it in their thing also.
Okay, all right. Well, I can bring it around as if there are further questions or needs. We then have what we think is just an incredible opportunity, because if you picture Pellman Farm, that was about 2.99 units, if you will, or homes, we say, to the acre. In this case, it'll be much less. So you should picture that the homes would be further apart ultimately. And a lot of green space, and you can see we'll take advantage of the wetland areas to create ponds with fountains and just a real beautiful set of amenities from essentially any home you live in here. We also, it was gracious, Eileen, Alderwoman, got us together with a couple of the homeowner association presidents that are adjacent to this neighborhood, for Stonebridge and for Champions. And they gave us some great time and some really good input as to what would be necessary. One of the keys was, we met with the Department of Transportation for Wisconsin, the DOT, and they really were not very favorable about potential emergency access here. So we met and discussed the ability to have just a breakaway gate here for emergency access in the event that this was blocked at this entrance. And they were amenable to that. They did ask for a few things, which actually, upon further reflection, made great sense. They would like to see a pedestrian path that would work from the current one that's along Loomis to the north and up to their neighborhood, with a stop along the way for a pocket park right here. And we thought that was a great idea. So that's also incorporated into the plan. So the idea here would be similar to Pellman, where we would be attracting folks from the area and keep them in Muskego. So the whole idea and what we try to do is provide low-maintenance living and a real neighborhood lifestyle center. So we believe we'll attract folks, from this area that want to stay in this area. And generally, it's empty nesters. Generally, it's those that want low-maintenance lifestyle. We'll probably average 1.5 to 2 homeowners per home. We generally average around 30% of our buyers being single again. And we average around 1.25 cars. If there are school-aged children in here, it would likely make up maybe 1% of the homes. Maybe 1 home or 2 homes would have school-aged children living in here. And sometimes that can be one of those situations where it's potentially a divorce situation, widow, widower. But generally, the homes, it's 2 bedrooms plus den and sunroom, accommodate folks that are already empty nesters. The homes, the differences between Pellman Farm and here, I already mentioned they'll be more spread out, much less density, a bigger clubhouse, and some other amenities that we can fit here. The homes will be really similar. We think we've designed, and Alan, maybe you can, we have some virtual images here. We took the roof line and tweaked it just a bit. We think what it does is it highlights the windows more. Still the same stone coverage, still hardy plank siding, the cementitious board siding. And we took the dormers off because we thought that detracted from all the windows and the beauty and the light as well for the homes. But otherwise, you're still seeing the architecture that we enjoy, where many times it's a double duplex, as Adam mentioned. And so when you look at this map, so for example, I think one of the letters came in from somebody here. When they look at our neighborhood, they're not going to look at a garage door. If you really look at the map, they're looking at exactly what Alan's holding up, and the garages are tucked around to the side. And I think that's been a big reason why these have proven to be pretty popular, because, it's a timeless look. We tried to do what we would call kind of a European country look, but keep them bright and airy, and not so forefronting of the garage doors. In terms of valuation and the impact on the city in that regard, we want to start these in the high 300s. Like at Pellman, some people will have us, build out the lower level for a lot of additional space. They'll be same footprint, so 1,600 to 1,900 plus, almost 2,000 square feet. But we finished, in one home, we finished 1,500 of those square feet down in the lower level and really dressed it out. That's a blank slate. We can put egress windows. Some of these will have exposures. We'll see how the grading works. Some lookouts, potentially a few walkouts, but that'll be determined as we work further with Scott and his team. So back to the valuation. So, if we were to average what I think we will, times the plus or minus 80 homes here, it would probably be around a $35 million real estate valuation in total in the end. So it generally would have, as it has for other municipalities, and I think Pellman Farm's doing a nice impact on the city coffers. I'd love to open up the questions, comments.
It's a
Tried to
public
cover
hearing, so
things.
we just get to listen.
Oh, okay. All right, that's right, okay. Yes. Go ahead, Alan.
Alan Peters. The public comment just had a question regarding how close. So we did take a measurement, the closest building to the rear building in Stone Ridge, the closest one is 400 feet. Obviously, these buildings have four-sided architecture, so it's like you're kind of looking at the front portion of it. As far as a berm, we would have to just look to see from a wetland perspective, because we can't grade within the wetland. But I think we'll work with Adam afterwards. We're happy to move landscaping around and adjust however we can. So I just wanted to address the comment that was raised.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
I just, again, thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to working with the city to see if we can put this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to be heard on this?
Just name and address.
Yep.
Stephen Van Gotham at S97 W13172 Champions Drive. John's a breath of fresh air, and I think for those who have been through this once before, twice before, this has been kind of a very sensitive issue. When we met with John, Troy represented Stonebridge, I represented Champions Drive, and we both walked out of the meeting and said, this is a good deal for us. I think we've waited a long time to get to this point where it's a win-win situation for Champions Village, Stonebridge, City of Muskego, and the developer, John. It utilizes that property extremely well, but keeps it under control, because the problem the last two times was the density issue, where it was a high density classification. It would have been chaos, and property values would have gone down. It would have been a very poor decision. This is a good decision for the city of Muskego. You have probably about 250 homeowners, and I believe that probably every one of them are on board with it. So it's, again, it's refreshing. So Stonebridge, Champions Village, I called Troy. Troy said to speak for him. Both our subdivisions are for this. There's one issue, and I'll just toss it out. I've talked to Eileen about it before. We're always concerned about the Trojan horse, and the Trojan horse is that cul-de-sac that's up on the west side of Stonebridge when it meets the golf course parking lot. That was addressed by John by putting in the gates and having that as the emergency exit. It's the next step, and that is after that development goes in, what would happen to the golf course, and if the golf course remains a golf course, or if it remains, or it turns into a development. That's the next step that we're concerned about, because that would create issues on traffic coming down Stonebridge Drive. So that's our only concern, was that cul-de-sac, and what would happen if something else would happen beyond this development, and the golf course would get developed if it doesn't stay a golf course. Otherwise, we're totally for the development. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard? Once, twice. I'll declare this public meeting closed. Thank you. All right. Moving on, consent agenda.
Approval of minutes for May 26th and June 23rd. Approval of operator licenses. Resolution 58, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, NR 208, Compliance Maintenance Resolution for 2019. And Resolution 59, approval of letter of credit reduction for Will Rose Apartments LLC.
Move to approve and gross.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to,
Rick, were we going to go to the cow at some point? I know we were trying to do the breakdown.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out
Okay.
when I want to do that.
A logical spot, got it.
All right. Let's jump to license approval. We'll take that first one, and then I'm going to adjourn and go to, well, actually, I'll take, is Mark still here?
No, he left.
Okay, yeah, we'll jump to a license approval. First item on there is the approval of outside dance permit for AJ's Bar and Grill, August 1st, 15th, 22nd, 29th, 2020, from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., and amended license premise for those dates from 4 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. So I know we discussed a number of things earlier. First of all, let's get it on the floor. Can I get a motion for that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all right. Number of items were discussed in finance that would be amending this. Before we do that, why don't we just get our discussion going? We can wrap this all up into, if this is something we're going to move forward with, we can wrap all those amendments into one motion for an amendment at that time. But why don't we start? Does anyone want to start with this discussion on where we're at on this?
I'm just looking for the safety of the neighborhood. I mean, if anybody can come up with a good plan to let them have the first one and hopefully not have to, not have a lot of issues so that the next one can move forward. I just don't want to approve all three of them and then have the neighbors call and say, I can't believe you're going to force us to sit through this for 2 more weekends.
My concern is that, unlike the approvals that we just did for other establishments, this is an event. This isn't just a casual, let's have a band on a Saturday afternoon. These are major events, and I just don't think it's appropriately placed in the city. You've got a very large tent that holds a whole lot of people. And you can't really compare that to the tent at, on Landon Road, because that's just used for food. I've got a real difficult time with this. I appreciate the efforts that the owner has made as far as trying to trim things down and trim things back a little bit, but this is an event, and it's not the proper venue for an event such as this.
Anyone else?
Yeah. To me, it looks like a private festival, and festival events, or as Alderman Kubaki is saying, it's an event. It's quite a bit larger. Our city festival, in the past, 3 nights, I live well over a mile from it and can often hear the band at my house, festival. And that's not even facing my direction. So I can understand a lot of concern over the noise. We do allow with the festival, and oftentimes three nights here. Then we have National Night Out, which is an inconvenience for the immediate neighborhood around this Veterans Park and so forth. And then we've added the beer garden, or gardens. I don't know which we have scheduled this year. There's more than one event? Three. So we've done a lot of that with city property, but when it's private property, it's maybe a whole different thing for us to consider. So I just bring up that point. I guess that's the main things I wanted to say in regards to our discussion.
Typically when you speak of events, though, they're over numerous nights in a row. This is several hours on one night and the rest of the week off. So it's a happening, but I don't know if you can call it a big event anymore, different than anything else. I understand everybody's concerns out there, but I do think AJ's has tried to do their best to take all concerns in place. And I don't think it's our job up here to pick winners and losers. They're both private parties. We have to come up with, I believe, a happy compromise on what can be done. I think what AJ's has proposed by putting up the snow fence and scaling back, cutting the time off is reasonable. I do have concerns with people basically trespassing and, you know, going to where they shouldn't be going and the garbage laying around. That is my main concern, but I think if AJ's can,
Security, is that a security?
have the security to take care of that and then be prudent and responsible and go out there and clean up right away after it. And then kind of, you know, let people after the event, have them move inside or, you know, not.
Or disperse?
Or disperse, not hang around outside. I think it's, a reasonable compromise on it.
Anyone else?
I would only suggest on that a large number of people, and if you've been around nights when the beer tent has been going here at the festival, police are right at hand. And there's been arrests while that's going on because of misbehavior of people that are partaking there. Here, the police wouldn't be immediately at hand and so forth, so I still think it's a concern for the neighbors in a big way.
That could happen at anything though. You know, any other place that we allow one of these functions to take place.
I want to just kind of applaud AJ. I know you're trying to do what you can do to put together a fundraiser, to be creative. My concern is that it sounds like the event maybe is a little bigger than your facility could potentially support, and some concerns with the number of vehicles. And if we talk to the police department, is there a road concern if you get 500, 400, 300 people down there, whether it's like a concern with occupancy on the land that's there? I would love to have seen, and when this first came up, would love to have seen if the gun club would have worked with you to say, hey, this is a fundraiser, use our land, juxtapose this, move it around, let's work together on it. I don't know if it's too late to try and pull something like that off. Because I think what you're doing is great, and my only hesitation, of all the hesitations coming in, I feel like you've addressed all of them, but the noise and the tent, and it is a concern for me with the numbers. I've worked sound at a concert before. I'm a tech guy, and so I know it can get loud. I think the timing does help. That's sort of where I'm at. I wish there was another venue somewhere where you could say, hey, let's pick it up and move it to this plot of land somewhere, a field. If a farmer has a field, they'll donate, and you move it. That for me would have been a clincher to say, hey, go ahead with it. I'm still struggling with the sheer number and the volume on both of those. So.
I think he said he holds 300 some people in there with the gun club, that there got to be over 100 people there. So there could be 400 people in that area on any given night. So if you're worried about 500.
Yeah, no, I mean, if he had, do you have the okay to use that land at that? I mean.
Well, now you're getting into
I'm just
different
asking,
ownerships and
yeah.
liabilities and stuff, you know what I mean? And now it's short term to ask that of him now. He's just trying to plan something, and then we delayed it weeks already, and he's already got bans in place, so he did have to cancel out. I mean, there's a lot of dilemmas involved here.
I mean, if
And
you get over.
and you missed it, you
Yeah.
made parking concessions as well.
What happens if you do have a huge run and there's 600 cars coming in? Are you going to block off the road and turn people away? Are people just going to park down the road and just sort of stumble across? I think a plan to say, hey, how are we going to address the fact that there aren't concerts anywhere and your concert junkies are going to go up because they haven't been at a concert and they're just going to show up, even if it means I'm going to park in somebody's front yard. I don't care if I get a ticket. Being able to address that, I think, would be helpful too.
I think that Bob kind of hit it. We have 9 just on today, not even counting the past. If I counted 6 outdoor permits. AJ volunteered information. We're calling it an event because of his volunteering of information. Nobody else is volunteering information. We don't know what these other people are doing. They just have what's on the agenda. He could have did the exact same thing and not volunteered the information and had the outdoor thing just like this. So we're declaring it an event, but I think they're all events. They're all outdoor concerts. Or at least 6 of them. I count on just today's, if I counted right, 6 or 7. But so I think we're reading what he volunteered information, and we're getting our emotions involved on the event issue of it. I can go on for other stuff, but I want to hear if anybody else have other stuff to say.
Eileen?
I think the biggest problem is it's the entire month of August. You're not asking his neighbors to listen to it one night. The other events that we approved, for the most part, were one night. Some of them didn't even have a band. And I know for a fact, because I know most of those businesses, that they had spent a lot of time talking to their neighbors and got an agreement with them before they started. That's why nobody's sitting here complaining about those other ones.
You know, and that's a good point. How do we know that?
Because I know the business owners and we've
I
gone
understand
through
that,
it with
but
them
we don't know that
before.
when it comes up here to count. We're depending on hearsay.
One thing
You know
I
what I'm
can, one thing I can, and I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
One thing I will add on these other, all these other ones we're talking about, there's a track record on these. You know, the Jammin' on Janesville, maybe it's a new business doing it, but we've done Jammin' on Janesville before. We know how that operates. Pioneer Inn has done these in the past. You know,
And none of them have had problems in the past, because I believe there's some in question here.
So that's what I'm getting
under,
at. We have a track record, so we're basing it off the track record. Unfortunately, I think what we're finding here is AJ's has a track record too with his neighbors, and it's, you know, it's not the relationship it probably could be. And I think that's the difference between the two right now.
And, you know, and that's the other point, and maybe we need more information when he's come up, is where I was headed. Is there zoning violations? Is there police records? I mean, there's things that we should know about when we make these decisions.
Yeah, the parking is an issue. I'll tell you straight off. If this went through if we're running this through Plan Commission, they would never approve it on the parking alone. There's, you know, you've got, yeah, even if you get permission from your neighbors, I'm not going to speak for your neighbors, but they aren't thinking it through. Their liability of having people that were involved in, you know, an intoxicating event and then going onto their property, parking cars and driving off. Those are the things you lose houses over. You can't have enough insurance for that. I mean, unless you're indemnifying them, and if that's the case, you probably should do that. You know, the fear would be you run one of these, and we can put that as part of our motion, those agreements have to stay in place or they get canceled. But you know, you have one of them, and all of a sudden someone wakes up and realizes this is, from a liability standpoint, just outright foolish to be doing. I mean, I'm not going to let a bunch of strangers park in my yard and assume that liability. You know, that very well could have, you know, somebody might say we're good with this, and then if someone talks to them, you know, after the first event, like, what are you doing? And they cancel it. Well, now the parking's gone. You know, so if at the very least, if you do go forward with this, make sure that parking is part of the agreement, that it has to stay on, or the future events get canceled. But as is right now, Plan Commission wouldn't approve something like this for a BSO.
Adam, what's the ratio of people to parking spaces for like a restaurant?
Can you come up to the microphone?
It's
based on square footage.
Oh, so it's not occupancy. Like, hey, we can hold 200 people. You should have X amount of parking spaces. Sorry, I pulled you into this.
Yeah, no worries. I can look really quick. For retail, for sure, it's based upon square footage. It's not a capacity. Because we as a city really don't even know what their capacity is.
Okay.
It's something an architect usually determines, and we may never hear their occupancy. So it's either square footage. Yeah, we don't even do seats for something like that. Auditoriums are based upon seats, like a concert venue where you'd have seating.
Okay.
That's based upon so many stalls per seat or something. But most stuff is square
That's
footage
sort
of
of what I was
customer
thinking.
area.
Is there, hey, if he's having 500 people, if you guys were looking at that, what would you say he should have parking?
I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, sorry. I can look to see kind of, the code has different categories, and some things don't fall easily into one or the other, so you're kind of doing a hybrid approach. What we like to do at Plan Commission lately is, rather than just look at a stringent number in the code and say, like somebody mentioned, average, how many people do you think you average a car? Are you 2 people a car, 3 people a car, 1 person a car? And just try to say from a practical, realistic standpoint. You have volunteers, you have the people that work there, you have the bands, you have the sound people, okay, that's parking too that, you know, you gotta think about, in addition to how many people are you averaging per car. So there's no magical number. It's really, you just gotta kind of look at it from a practical standpoint and say, okay, what's the capacity, and then divide by how many people could be in each car, and guess from there.
Well, thank you for.
Sure. All right.
Yeah, that's okay.
Further discussion? Anyone else?
Well, again, we'll go back to, he can handle 300 or 400 people in his building, and the parking's not an issue. With having the business open, it's been granted to be open with the amount of parking that's there. So again, because he's calling it an event, we're reading further into this than we are the other people. I'm trying to stay consistent, again, the word is consistency on what we do for people. This one wanted to go to midnight, a lot of these are till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. He's willing to stop at 8. He's willing to put up a snow fence, he's willing to put out security, his additional parking spots, he's asked for no parking signs. He's giving to charity. I mean, we know more about Adam's business than we do about any of these other businesses right now.
One thing I should add, when I did say that about parking, and obviously I can't speak for Plan Commission, I don't think they, on a normal case, they would approve something like this for parking, and it's only because they're losing those spots that they typically need. However, this year they have granted us waivers on that for
Tents.
bars and restaurants for tents, so they are making exceptions for this year.
That was
because
my
of
point,
COVID.
I
So
didn't want to get into that.
I should clarify that if I'm saying that.
No, that's
you know,
right.
Plan Commission is on board for exceptions because of COVID this year.
And I mentioned the COVID too, that's part of his reasoning to survive. I feel for the residents in the area, and I also feel for the business because of the downness of the business. It's tough to make a go of it, and if he's been around 12 years, I'd like to see him stay around longer, and work with the residents, and see what they need in their area to help, you know, that they don't like or have concerns with or whatever. But right now, we're on one subject, and that's, he's also cut it down from 4 events to 3. So there's been concessions going on. And that's what we got to decide on, if we like the concessions or not.
So
Again,
on that moment,
I was gonna say one other thing, your planning commission, that's why we're doing an outdoor dance permit and not a planning and zoning meeting.
Correct.
So that's the planning, that was a lot of hoopla over what we're not doing.
based on those concessions, if we are going to move forward, I would entertain any motions or amendments that people want to make to this, and we'll have to amend, because right now the motion is for his 6 until 10:30 and 4 until 10:30. So if you want to, if somebody wants to make a motion to amend based on what he had all brought forward, and I can read that list off to you if you're interested in what they were.
It was 4 to 8 on the three
So the
dates,
time
right?
was, changing the times from 4 to 8, putting up a temporary snow fence along I believe it's the eastern end of the parking lot, or property line. Having temporary no parking, putting up in the neighborhood, security, private security on site, trash cans, staff picking up trash before or after the event, both on site and in the neighborhood. I think that covered it. Did I miss anything?
Additional parking
And the additional parking in writing from the neighbors, granting that.
in writing.
Yeah. So,
And then one less date, the 22nd?
correct, the 22nd would be removed from this. So if somebody wants to make that amendment, feel free. If you don't, if you just want to vote it up or down as is, you can.
I'll make that amendment, and then we can go from there and make another amendment if you guys want, or vote on it, whatever you want to do.
So
Just so that everything's out clear.
So your motion for the amendment was for the items I read off, correct?
Right.
And Jill, do you have all those?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I'll second that.
The second, all right.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Alderman Hamel. Discussion on the motion to amend?
I'm sorry, I just can't support this. I just simply can't support this. It's the inappropriate place to put an event such as this. If the neighbors, well, assuming the neighbors will approve the parking, you've got about 190 parking spots for a minimum of 300, potentially 500 people. It's the wrong place. I'm sorry.
And just for point of reference, we're just discussing the amendment right now. We'll discuss and vote on.
Yeah, I just wanted to open up and you
Part of the
can
amendment. Parking's part of the
No,
amendment.
that's fine. I'm just, you'll have another kick at this yet. So I'm just
He's
trying.
just giving his opinion.
Just trying to get the amendment out of the way if we can. Any more discussion on the motion to amend? All right, so this vote is just for the motion to amend. Can you do a roll call on that?
Alderperson Madden,
No.
Kubaki,
No.
Engelhardt,
No.
Kapusta,
No.
Terrence,
Yes.
Hamel,
Yes.
and Wolf.
Yes.
So the motion to amend fails, correct?
Correct.
So we're back to the motion as brought on the floor. Any further discussion with that? Can't imagine there's a lot if.
So you're talking about the one that's in front of us written? Just-
I'm sorry, what?
Just the way it was written, right? That's the one
Yes,
we're looking
the
at?
motion to vote on is as written, from the later times, the extra dates, everything. So, unless there's another motion to amend, I'm going to call this for a roll call vote.
Well, we can, I suppose it doesn't matter. I mean, the time is the big difference here, which is amend the time to 8 o'clock. But I guess it would be the same vote, yeah.
Probably
So it doesn't
not.
matter.
I have a point here, I guess a question for AJ too. Assuming this as written does not go through, some of these other permits were specifically just for outdoor extended hours to give you the ability to be under a tent. Is there some desire, I don't know if this is kind of an odd way to do this, to have it be just the ability to have your normal business without the concert side and a permit to be outdoors, extended beyond?
So you can't really address the crowd without permission of the council, so.
I guess I'm wondering if that is something that we would be able to.
I think people like reacting to things that were brought forward, and that's not been brought forward.
So I guess I got a question, as long as you can, on that same line there. These outdoor dance permits that we have all in front of us, they have to tell you what they're going to do outside?
They're extending their, well, if they're like a dance permit, yeah, they're going to be dancing. And if they're extending their premises, they would be drinking in those areas. But beyond that,
So are any of these having music and not telling us? Or, I mean, I'm just trying to,
how does that permit work?
again, I like to be consistent.
Well, the ones that say outside dance permit are planning to have music outside. And for some of the establishments, the Suburban Bourbon, for example, they do not have anything currently licensed outside. So that's why for those outside events, he amends his premise to include the parking area for those specific dates.
So he can add music in if he wants.
Well,
Is that
if
right?
he applied for the outside dance permit, which would be identified on the agenda, you can't have music just without that application,
Okay, that's what I just
which
wanted to
needs to be
clarify.
approved by you.
How many of those are specific to jamming on Janesville night?
All the ones for August 7th, so we've got Crush, Suburban Bourbon, let's see here. Lucky's, correct.
So several of them are,
That's 3 out of the 7.
yeah, pertaining only to jamming.
So like you have, for instance, Bay Bass Brew House, which is on the lake, and they're going till 11 o'clock at night. Is there a music permit with that one?
That's a wedding.
It's a dance, so there would be.
Right,
Yes.
correct, because it says outside dance
As long
permit.
as it says dance, they can have a.
So we need to well, I guess, yeah, let's not get too far off the agenda. I understand where you're trying to tie this to me.
No, I'm just trying to stay consistent. I just want to understand what's going on with all these, so I understand exactly what's going on.
I think that's
So
the
we're
day they
being
have their
completely
fireworks.
inconsistent, and we're picking winners and losers by doing this.
Yeah, but
West
we
Bay
do know
Brew House
something
is a
about these
wedding.
other ones.
All right.
And there are some in
Wait,
residential.
Wait, one at a time, please. Yes.
We do know something about these other ones. I mean, it was said earlier that we didn't really know much about them, but we do. It's jamming or other, and so we do know something about them.
And I'll be honest, people showed up at this one. They're not showing up for the other ones. Right, wrong, or different, squeaky wheel. Alderman Wolf.
I'm just reading here, outdoor dance permit for July 23rd, August 6th, and the 20th, from 6 to 9 p.m. And at this bar, when it was at a former name of the bar, we had major discussions on this one. So I'm not saying who it is or what, but we have history here, and we're looking to approve 3 dates of outdoor music.
If you want to talk, but we're talking about this agenda item.
That's what
And when we get to that one.
I'm comparing it that I have never had AJs in front of me with violations for zoning or police. I've never had that brought up. If there was a history, I would be feeling different about it, is where I'm going with this.
Sure, and that's your right to vote how, which.
And so my point is, there's consistency of 3 dates of another place that's gonna have outdoor music, 3 dates. He wants outdoor music. I see the tent's bigger, the bands are bigger, but that's because he told us that. but the other place has had a history, and he has
Fairness,
no
we
history.
haven't approved those other ones yet.
I understand that.
Yeah, just-
I understand that, but I'm just making comparison that we're in a residential neighborhood, and they're in these other ones are in residential neighborhoods, they're gonna have music till 11 o'clock at night. He's asking till 8 o'clock at night. So I just have a problem with the consistencies. I feel for the neighbors, I understand that, I probably wouldn't be happy myself. But at the same time, we can't pick and choose, as Bob said, winners and losers. I think that's absolutely wrong. I think that we have to give someone a chance to prove themselves. If it doesn't work and there's major problems, then we say, never again, sorry, you had your shot, you screwed up. Or, God, this was a great thing for the neighborhood and whatever else, and you can do it again. I'm stuck on consistency. I hate to say it, but I've always been that way, and, you know.
Well, you could make a motion for just one of the dates with all those contingencies.
Well, I'm looking at other things that are happening, and it's not consistent. We'd have to go the same thing with the other one and tell them they can only have one date then as well. You know, you heard I put my approval through. I think 3 of us voted yes, 4 said no. I have no idea, other than someone of those 4 that said no, to come up with another solution to try to help a business out and help the neighbors out. And if the only way to do that is just say no, then I think we have a total loss on one side and a total win on the other. I'd like to see some kind of compromise and have both sides, you know, work as a neighborhood. I mean, I like to see the city work together. I didn't take this, I didn't run for office to butt everything. You know, I like to challenge stuff. I get excited, emotional. I talk too much, but, you know, I stay consistent, you know, on my beliefs. So, I'd really like to see the business have some shot here. I'd like to see someone that said no come up with an answer to help the guy out, and also give let them prove the neighbors wrong, or let them prove them right, and then we can move on from there.
Work with Boxhorn. That's a
Well,
solution.
that's a liability.
That's a solution.
You know, that's another business.
Solution. You asked for a solution, I just gave you.
But we deferred this for how many weeks, and now he's under a crunch. So we put him in a bad spot to a point as well. So,
I like to call the question.
Okay, I have one more thing.
Actually,
Apologize,
the
Ken.
question's been called. We got to
Okay.
take a vote on that. All those in favor of the question being called, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So if I have that right,
I thought we
it's
could
5
work
to 2.
this out.
Question's been called. Can you do a roll call vote?
On,
The motion as it's been brought to the floor, the unamended one. Yes,
Yep.
that
so
one.
this,
Oh, so we're gonna vote now on the original one?
Yes.
Okay.
Alderpersons Madden,
No.
Kubaki,
No.
Engelhardt,
No.
Capusta,
No.
Terrence,
Yes.
Hamel,
Yes.
and Wolf.
Yes.
Fails
3 in favor and 4 opposed.
3 to 4. All
Okay,
right.
so what he can do now is reapply for 1 or 2 dates?
He can reapply for anything at this point. He could reapply for the same thing again if he wanted. You know, the likelihood of it getting passed would be unlikely if it comes back with something identical, but
I can't
but our
believe,
next council meeting is not until
28th.
August. Oh,
July
no, 28th of July,
July 20th.
yes. So he could
I
try.
I just can't believe we couldn't work out at least 1 date for the business. I feel saddened on how we're treating a business owner separate from everybody else.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to adjourn the council meeting at this point and jump into the cow.
What's that?
So we are doing a temporary adjournment at 6:52.
Do we need a motion, or we're just,
No, I don't
okay,
need it.
okay.
I can do that.
okay.
And then, yeah. Like to
Or
call-
could we have a 5-minute break?
Sure. We'll take a 5-minute break and then come back into the committee of the whole. Start at 6:57. July 14th, 2020 at 6:56 PM. Roll call? Can we just state the record, the roll call, the vote, the attendance is the same as Counselor, or do you need to do a roll call?
I think he wants us to roll call. Alderperson Madden?
Here.
Kubaki?
Here.
Engelhardt?
Here.
Kapusta?
Here.
Terrence?
Here.
Hamel?
Here.
And Wolf.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Statement of public notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of minutes from June 23rd, 2020.
Move to approve.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. New business number 2, discussion and renewal of festival committee lease for the pavilion at Veterans Park. So, look in your packet. There is a copy of the lease that the festival committee has with the city for, there's a section of the pavilion that actually they built, or paid for their storage on it. Their lease, their current lease ends August 1st, and they would like to renew it. When do you want to come up and add anything to that?
Good evening. Jeffrey Baker, South 76, West 22215 Glen Echo Road, Muskego, Wisconsin. I'm here representing the Muskego Community Festival as a member of the American Legion, Muskego American Legion. This is the first time that we've actually had a chance to be in front of the council since the original lease was back in 2003, when the planning of this was going on, the planning and budgeting, the pavilion, the storage was considered built for the festival committee. We paid for it, $12,600. $8,600 of that went to the actual construction, and the rest of it went to the Lions Club for the rest of the pavilion costs. I'm going to spare some real small details and jump to some big stuff, and unfortunately I don't have a copy of everything to give to you because of short notice, but I would provide that to you if you request it in the future. From a finance committee meeting, July 16th, 2003, in new business, Alderman Pawlowski moved to approve the amended festival invoice for $8,615 with the understanding that the festival committee has exclusive rights to storage facility, and that was seconded by Alderman Salentine and carried by all. We'll jump to a letter on July 23rd, 2003 from the then Finance Department Director Dawn Gunderson to our Treasurer Glenda Holm. And I'll skip the basic stuff, but I'll go to the bottom part here that says, once the city of Muskego has received payment in the amount of $8,615.63, it will be understood that the festival committee will have exclusive rights to use of the storage facility for as long as the festival exists and or the life of the structure. I don't honestly know where this policy came from. I don't have a letterhead or anything, but I have a date on it dated April 6, 2005. So we're jumping ahead now. Be it resolved, the storage portion of the Veterans Memorial Park that is located adjacent to the open air pavilion shall be for the sole purpose of the festival committee. Any other authorized users are required to garner approval from the festival committee. And forward to a June 15th, 2005 meeting. This was to the Finance Committee and Common Council from Parks and Recreation, Craig Anderson, to be specific. and I'm going to read this to you in whole. The Parks and Recreation Board is recommending for approval an agreement with the Festival Committee for exclusive use of the storage area in the Lions Club Pavilion at Veterans Memorial Park. This is the storage area that they paid for. We have had a verbal agreement with the Festival Committee, but felt a paper document was needed for the future. We forwarded this agreement on to the city engineer for his review. The city engineer feels this agreement covers the city. Thank you for your consideration. At the time, and the reasons the other gentleman is here is because he was the director or chairman of the festival committee at that point. So if he can speak to signing the lease at that time.
Jeff Hazer, W162 South 7420, Charlotte Court. I just want to add a couple things, and some of you have heard some of these points, but I think some of you, this is all new to you, is that one point that Mr. Baker shared about the Lions Club financing it, one of our member groups, is that they donated all the labor. Many of those gentlemen are in the trades and lent their professional services free of charge to help build that structure. As well as we worked well with the city on the front end to design the building, and originally we were just going to build the pavilion with the storage space, but no bathrooms. And the city came back to us and asked if we could include those, and we did that. The city helped pay for some of the costs from for the bathrooms. So I think that just should help some of you, because some of you have heard parts of these discussions and not. I guess we just want that out there because we felt like we weren't being heard and caused some frustration with some of the things in the past. We do want to maintain and be able to keep that space because we do use it for storage for all the equipment that helps us to put on the festival, as well as just to reiterate one other point that I don't think has been appreciated enough, and that is that if it wasn't for the festival committee, the park probably wouldn't be what it is today, because those of you that have lived here for a while know that originally it was one big open field when it moved there from being on Janesville Road. Our different member groups added different components. The Women's Club added the fountain area there. Our veterans added the arch, the entranceway, led to the catalyst for the paving. The Lions Club helped facilitate that pavilion being structured, and then that gave it somewhat of identity, and then the Park and Rec Department, that gave them the opportunity to help write grants to help facilitate all that playground equipment there.
Did you guys add the electricity as well?
Yes, Jeff, you're a little more knowledgeable on that part. And
Talking about the entire park infrastructure,
right.
Electric, yes, we installed all that.
And which we currently maintain, and we pay the monthly electrical We Energies every month, even though we only use it 3 days a year. So ultimately, we do want to renew the lease. I guess the point that we're saying here is, over the years, we've had some frustration with just being charged rent for a building that one of our members built and donated to the city. So we just wanted to get that out there. If something we could do about that part of it, that would be great. But either way, we do want to maintain that space.
Who's been maintaining the building?
The city has done some of it, but that was the understanding from the beginning.
Okay, so actually, I just put this down. There were some questions at a meeting about maintenance for the building. Is that what you asked?
Yes.
Yes. At a Parks and Recreation Board meeting, June 13, 2005, maintenance was brought up. And, well, I can read this all to you, or you can I can get it to you at a later time, or you can look it up.
Can you paraphrase it? I was gonna say, do you have
They basically said, Ms. Coble, I believe at the time, they were concerned about the nonprofits in the city donating all these different things, and then expecting the city to maintain them. The discussion eventually was moved to approve a 10-year agreement with us, and if capital expenditures arose, it didn't prevent the Parks and Recreation Board from making a verbal request for donation of funds to offset the cost to the Lions Club or to the festival committee. So the city took that on, but it was understood that if they needed help with maintenance costs, that we would possibly chip in on those.
Okay.
And again, that was our Parks and Recreation Board meeting, June 13th, 2005.
I just want to clarify that this lease is for the storage part of the building, it's not for the whole building itself.
Right.
So from a maintenance standpoint, I don't know what would change, our maintenance costs don't really change much because they're taking this portion. Yeah. I mean, the roof's got to be replaced.
Yeah, I understand.
Just clarifying.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
a city-owned structure then.
So, a Common Council, City of Muskego Resolution 128-205, approval of Lions Club Pavilion storage agreement between the City of Muskego and Muskego Festival Committee. The Common Council of the City of Muskego, upon the recommendation of the Finance Committee, does hereby approve the attached agreement between the City of Muskego and Muskego Festival Committee for storage in the Lions Club Pavilion at Veterans Memorial Park. I wasn't. Yes,
Just ask one?
yes, sir.
Why don't we just ask what you're looking for, and let us discuss.
Uh,
And if we need further things, you're here, that
Okay.
way we can get a discussion.
So basically what we'd like is to renew our lease.
Okay.
And we would like that to be for a minimal rent, 0 if possible, in perpetuity as originally agreed upon by the council and the committee.
Okay. So, say we, at least for like $1, we have to have some consideration on it, so you could do $1. Is that
Okay.
so you're
Yes.
asking for $1, what's a time period that we could, I gotta start somewhere, so I'm just.
You mean in terms of the length of the
Yeah,
lease?
can we do it,
And I would do it I can never say perpetuity.
Okay,
I
can you do
mean,
99, can you do 50, 10?
Just do $1 a year.
yeah, I would say like, things change, so the longer it's kind of difficult. I would say the shortest you could do would usually last 5 years, 10 years. I wouldn't go beyond 10.
Okay, so would you, I'm just starting somewhere, you guys can amend it, do what you want, so I got a 10-year, $1-a-year lease.
Over the years.
Just, wait, I just want to start.
All right.
$1 a year for 10 years, $1 a year.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Just a starting point, you guys can amend the heck out of this thing, but I want to, is that reach what you're looking for?
It does.
Okay, start.
Over the years, and Jeff, we've talked about this a number of times. The city's had a use for that storage area. I don't know what the plans are right now. I don't know if the city doesn't have a use for that.
If we, I'll answer your question without cutting you off, I hope, but.
You just did, but go ahead.
Let me just answer that part of it. I did talk to Tammy, she said if the space was available, she would use it. If she doesn't have it available, she's not gonna die, so.
Okay. And I know there was talk about purchasing these boxcar things and moving your stages back and forth. And I know that's an issue because your stages are expensive and they have to be maintained. I would like to see us, extend the lease at a reasonable fee. We do have the maintenance. There is still some maintenance on that portion of the structure and the structure itself. So I'm open to it, but just, again, there's more history than just some papers from 2003. Also, just to clarify that the lighting for the park is not paid for by the festival committee. It's the electricity that they use. There's an ongoing charge, I think, that We Energies has just to keep it open and running.
There are service fees.
Yeah.
We keep all of them on, and actually, the lighting does come from our electric.
It does.
There's
The
photo
park
cells-
lighting.
There's photo cells for the lights that come out of our service boxes.
Okay,
yes.
and I apologize.
And
I
also
didn't know
the,
that.
the Muskego sign that they put up on Pioneer is tied into our electric as well. And, I'm not sure who pays the pavilion. That, I would have to talk to the treasurer about that. She's the one who
Okay.
keeps those records, but.
Okay, all right.
Now, when someone uses the park, like the beer truck or whatever, I don't know if they plug in, are they plugging into your electricity, or do they pay them a charge, or do you know anything, Scott, how that works? Does anybody use the electricity other than the festival committee when they're doing events? Or outdoor dances?
There's a really weird electrical issue out there. It is. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they do our sign, it's a really kind of.
Yes, yeah, I can understand.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm just wondering if it goes further than that, that's all.
Well, there's certain boxes out there, locks, certain boxes that we have the beer trucks that plug in. They pay a fee, I think there's some fees that we pay too, but.
Okay, so there is some type of reimbursement back,
It
okay.
is back and forth.
That's
It
fine.
is very complicated because of all the different lines out there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I understand.
about
I
it.
just didn't know if they got
So-
reimbursed for anything, that's fine, as long as you see something now and then, okay.
I think.
No?
we
We don't
don't
ask
for reimbursement for those.
Okay,
No, they
gotcha.
don't. And I think Tammy called you too, one of your lights has been on, something like that.
I just noticed that
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah, she left you a message, so you might wanna go call about that.
The photoelectric guy is probably covered up by something or.
I'd like to make a motion for $1 consideration for 5 years.
Second?
Can I make a comment first?
We have no, I need a second.
I'll second.
I'll second it. Either one. Eileen can second. There's curtains for the pavilion also that are stored in their section?
No idea. I have no idea what's stored.
Curtains for the pavilion?
Yeah, tarp curtains for the pavilion.
We don't store anything for
As
this.
I recall, we were from Chamber of Commerce event over there, got curtains out of your section, had to get the key from somebody in order to do that, and then we were able to use those. And I was just curious about ownership of those and so forth.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Unless they were given permission to use some of our equipment,
Yeah,
and
and
I'm not in the loop on that.
Of the festival.
Yeah, that's true, they are part of the festival committee.
We have one here right now.
I'm sorry, I don't have that any better recollect, but I know there was an event over there, and we had to get into that section, and we were granted a key to get in there to get those out, as far as I remember. And then we put them up for that event.
I'd like to see us go 10 years, so
Yep.
Well,
amend the
we have to
motion.
vote on the motion and to amend it.
You can amend it.
Yeah.
You have a motion on the floor, if
Okay.
you're making a motion to amend, you can do that.
Yeah, make a motion amended to 10 years. Stop it.
You need a second.
Second.
Discussion on any discussion on the amendment.
I think it should stay 5.
All those in favor of the amendment, let's do a roll.
God, they built the park, let's go 20.
So are we doing
Motion to the amendment, just the amendment. So
to
amendment
the 10
to
years?
10 years.
Okay, okay. Alderperson Madden,
Yes.
Kubaki,
Sure.
Engelhardt,
That's a yes, that's an absolute yes. Yeah.
I sense I better change, yes.
Kapusta,
Yes. Yes.
Terrence,
Yes.
Hamel,
Yes.
and Wolf.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Any further discussion on the motion as amended? All those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You got it.
At least for $1 a year.
I'll put that.
Anything to keep Jeff happy, that's all I want.
One of you guys.
Which
gonna
one?
sign it?
I'll put that together.
Okay, thank you very much.
It'll be the
Thanks,
same
guys.
lease, just with $1.
Absolutely, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, that's just a count.
Yes. Yeah, we gotta bring
We'll
it,
bring it to council.
we gotta bring it to council, approve it there, but this is direction, so. The other item under new business, Park Arthur Baseball Field, Muskego Norway Shared Use Facility Agreement. So, I'm gonna give some context to this. When I first got in office, I met with many of you, and just, what are your goals and things like that. number of you stated we would like to see an improved relationship with the school district. Now this explanation here might get a little convoluted and takes a different paths, but, so years ago, we used to have and I'm sure most of you are aware, we had a pretty comprehensive shared use agreement with the school district for using their facilities, them using some of ours. We had, it worked essentially, and we had some cost sharing on some the athletic fields out there, based on we cost shared on building it, we cost shared on maintaining them as well. Park and Rec over the years realized that a lot of the uses for those facilities out there at that time were being driven by third parties essentially. They weren't like our Park and Rec we don't have a Park and Rec baseball program, for instance. So like the Junior Warriors or MAA was ultimately wanted to use some of those facilities, and because of our agreement, they would go through us and then we would go through them, and so ultimately it was decided, I'm not sure if the council decided this, the mayor did it on her own, but canceled that agreement with the school district. The school district at the time wasn't really pleased on that because we had a 99-year agreement to cost share on that. Their business plan was based on that cost sharing. Whatever, to kind of make that up, they said, well, okay, then you're going to start paying at least some cost for using the school facilities when the Park and Rec used them. They use a few gyms. There's not a lot. Some classrooms at the time. They don't use classrooms really much anymore. But the school district then put like a $10 an hour usage fee. I think it was $10 per time to use it initially, and then they changed it to $10 an hour. And that cost was mainly to cover they had to have maintenance people there when there was people in the building. Trust me, the people were making more than $10 an hour, so it wasn't even covering their costs. But anyway, it got to be this back and forth thing. It got so bad that I'm just going to say the previous administration wouldn't allow the students from Lake the Noon to be using the park for gym classes. Now, mind you, a little history, I've been around this government a while. That park was specifically built next to that school, so there could be, a lot of collaboration between the two. So as of right now, the school district's not allowed to use the park without paying I think it was like $9,000 a year. They tried working out agreements like if there's costs, how about we have our grounds crew fix this? That there was all kinds of issues. Regardless, the relationship wasn't the best. Let's just say. How does this tie into this Park Arthur baseball field? So right now, you guys agreed to redo Park Arthur number 4. Park Arthur number 4, if it rains, a slight drizzle is unusable for an unbelievable amount of time. There's no drainage there. The drainage it's negative. I mean, it's just horrible. So you guys agreed, we're going to spend a lot of money. Yeah, let's just say, well, it was high 300s. So is it like 315,000? That's just for one. That's just for one of the fields. It's $500,000 for all of them, but for the number 4, it's $300,000 plus. And the main users of that are the baseball organizations. So I said this is going to get convoluted. So this whole thing is a little mixed. I've been talking to the baseball organizations, and what Tammy would like to do is get out of the baseball business altogether. Mm-hmm. She has to schedule their practices. She has to schedule their games, all this stuff. What we did in the school district when all this agreement went south, MAA uses Bay Lane for baseball. We essentially said, okay, these fields are yours for $1 a year. Do what you want, but you're in charge of all the maintenance on them. You're in charge of prepping the fields. We don't want anything to do with them except let you use these. We can't really do that if we wanted to, even with the baseball organizations, because there's too many of them. We don't want to deal with all these things. So what I've started discussions with them, and to try to get them, all the main baseball organizations, to form almost something like this festival committee, where they're all members of it. All these different groups are members that they have a parent company or organization that we're just dealing with that one. And if that works, what we would like to do then is almost like say Kurth and Park Arthur baseball diamonds are your responsibility. We would drone them in the beginning of the season, document what condition they're in. They enter some sort of agreement for, some kind of cost. We would get them ready for the beginning of the season, but during the season, prepping them, all that would be this organization's responsibility. They would be responsible for doing their scheduling of their own games and fields. For public use, as far as baseball, if somebody wanted to come and use baseball diamonds, we would still have, we would still have Bloom. I'm just drawing a blank on other fields. We have other fields in this facility or in the city, but we would also have access to those for we rent a tournament every year. There was a tournament I think last weekend at Park Arthur. We would block off those dates ahead of time, so that we would still have our use for it, that we would know ahead of time that we would do that. But essentially, we wouldn't have to deal with any of the day-to-day stuff. At the end of the season, we would go survey the fields, compare it to the drone footage. Any damage they either have to fix or we fix it and charge them for it. Kind of cleans up a lot of work that we do. I mean, literally, you wouldn't believe the amount of time that Tammy spends on this every year. So through those discussions, one of the things that came up is we're spending all this money on this field at Park Arthur 4. One thought that came up would be to, instead of spending $300,000 to redo that field, would be to spend about $200,000, put lights on the high school field, the varsity field, enter into a new agreement with the school district for all of their diamonds, not just that one, but all five. They have 3 softball / little league diamonds and two of the large diamonds there, and rekindle this cooperative relationship between the two. The reason I'm bringing this here is, before I get too far down the line and dive into this relationship, if there's no interest from any of us to even pursue any of that, I'm going to stop, and then we're just going to go forward. We have, with Park Arthur number 4, get that moving. But if there is interest in it, I'd like your blessing to at least pursue that and go down that path. So it's real loose, just throwing it out there. Alderman Wolf.
Well, the question is, the original lighting was paid for by the groups, so.
They're on board.
Okay, so I just wanted.
And they're on board. They got to give me their official blessing, but I'm starting to. Like you, I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole without everyone's blessing. So.
Yeah, the lights are an important feature. Yeah. I mean, that's where you're starting. It makes sense.
And I should also point out, Park Arthur 4 is still usable as is without doing anything to it. It's just when it rains, it can't be used for maybe a week or two.
So you're saying that we would save $100,000?
Yes.
Plus.
So.
Who said plus?
Yeah, plus.
Me.
Oh, that's right. 300.
I'm just trying to figure out, is it worth $100,000? That's something we have to figure out. It sounds like a lot of money, but everything that's already invested in there, it's a minute amount of money. And everything else we're going to do to it, it's still a minute amount of money, but I don't know what it means long-term. I don't know what anybody else feels.
Well, I'll tell you from a community standpoint, when I broached it to the school district, their first response was, referring to their fields, they're completely underutilized by the community.
That's a good point.
And they would like to see those used more. From a youth baseball standpoint, besides those really crazy parents that all believe their kids are going to the pros, their goal, which is higher and higher every year. Sorry for the editorial. Their goal is to get their kid playing on the high school field in high school. They're doing all this youth stuff. They're doing these select teams. They're traveling all over so their kid can play varsity baseball. Yep. The sooner the kids can start playing there, the better it is for the community, and that's why I think this is such a huge win. I can tell you from my youngest is now 23, but they went through, he did the select baseball all the way through. Their goal was just to play baseball out there, and the sooner we can get them doing that, the better. And I just think it's a win-win. But
no, you're right, and it's a good point to bring up. The concern is the conflict of use. If it's limited now, in the future, that also be spelled out pretty.
So the agreements for use would be between the school district and those, that baseball organization I'm trying to form. So they would have an agreement with them. We as a city would have access to it, but quite honestly, we as a city don't use baseball diamonds.
But my point is I just want to make sure that they're happy, because that's what they're happy now with what they have.
I
and what-
wouldn't
Yeah,
push this forward without their complete blessing.
And
Just
we're
as a
happy with
quick-
what we have too, so we gotta be happy with what we're gonna get in return.
There are some issues where they're not happy. That's sort of where I think some of this is coming from, and Rick and I chatted. And this was on my wheelhouse. I, assistant varsity head coach at high school for girls softball. I coach a 10U travel team. I coach a 16U travel team. Well aware of the problems with scheduling fields and different teams and the issues with who was in charge of the field. And we went through it trying to be like, who are we reserving fields with? We can't reserve fields now, and this field's maintained and this one isn't. So when we chatted, I'm a huge proponent of this moving forward. Talking about the field, you have a usable field. The two things that we struggle with in Wisconsin are you can't deal with weather, right? Snow and rain, it takes out a field. So high schools have moved towards using turf because turf is an all-weather condition. And then the next one is lights. And when you start to talk about older kids and playing at certain times, they won't schedule games at facilities that don't have lights because as it gets different parts of the season, you can't play. So when you're hitting a ball that's moving 80 miles an hour, it can't be dusk because the game's over. So the state tournaments, the state regional, they can't host things here because we don't have the facility to handle that. So that upgrade to the high school will be trickle down for everybody, even your 8s and your 9s and your 10s, because now you have a facility that's usable by more people on a longer range. Park Arthur's still usable, and you've now kind of divided that. So I'm a huge proponent of kind of the initial thoughts that Rick has sort of put out there. So,
Rick, I guess I would really encourage you to do this. I think this is long overdue, to have the sports organizations in conjunction with the school system with us. I mean, how great is that to all be speaking the same language? I would strongly encourage it. I think it's a great plan. So thank you.
What happens with the other needs of Park Arthur, the other diamonds?
Those are right now still scheduled to move forward following year. Do you want to come, Scott?
So, capital. We'll have a little early talk about capital. Fields 1, 2, and 3 were slated. I was going to present them to you. My date is August 25th to all you guys. And then that would be 1, 2, and 3 would be redone. And that would be kind of like how we do them in 2021. We wait for the season to end. We start it. And then we get it all done, hopefully by the fall of 2021, and by the season of 2022, they'll be all ready to go. And that's fields 1, 2, and 3.
So with those fields in full operation, and assuming that field number 4 is in partial operation, will the pavilion that we spent a whole lot of money on still be used there?
Yeah, from my understanding, the pavilion, now the only thing too is, again, Storm, it's volunteers. They didn't do concessions last year. Remember, they didn't have the volunteers to do it. Volunteers is a tough thing, you know, but when we have tournaments, it's, you know, they use the pavilion. You know, they use the fields. Like I said, fields are not, they're only not used, field 4 is when it rains really bad. I mean, that's why. We're designed, well, they're built wrong, is the best way to put it.
Right, as are the other fields. They're all,
They need to be repaired. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, so.
As far as the pavilions, those pavilions are also rented for parties on a regular basis. I mean, at least my friends that rent the pavilions, they prefer Park Arthur above any of them, actually. It's one of the nicer ones. Sure. So, Alderman Wolf.
Just so I understand correctly or incorrectly, when we redo the fields, we're taking the lights down.
Yes, what you do.
And we're not going to be putting them back up if we put them in the high school, right? Is that?
No, okay. If
We
we were
will
doing,
still have lights.
if we were gonna do field 4, we get everything down, we have to regrade the field, and we put the lights back up. The thing is this, it's like the fencing. You take all the fencing down, you regrade it, and you put it back up. If you don't put it up, if you don't take it down, your fence
No, I
is
understand that, but my point is.
5 feet above.
I just want, we're going to still have lights at Park Arthur?
Yeah, still gonna have lights at
So where are we saving the 100,000?
Because the lights that we'd be putting at the high school that we would be paying for are 100,000, they're 200, well, here's the quote, it's $230,000.
Oh, so they're a cost sharing?
My proposal will be, we put the lights on the varsity field and they put them on the softball fields.
Instead of
They put them on the other
field 4.
fields.
We don't redo field 4.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're keeping lights at Park Arthur.
Yeah, everything,
Okay,
the field,
I just want to, like you said,
Would give us
correct or
two-
incorrect.
Which would give us two full-size diamonds in the community with lights, which is huge. Now, the one,
And
there's
the
an
next,
asterisk next to it, the Park Arthur one, because we're
and
not
the
gonna
next
do anything.
follow-up question, of course, is going to be, there's no resistance in the neighborhood to lights going up around the high school for the residents. That's going to be a
I
question.
believe they already have plan commission approval from their, because the lights, the reason why it's this price and not $500,000 is the electrical's already stubbed in at the high school for lights, and I think that was part of the
Okay.
initial approval.
Just questions.
Yeah, the football field lights up the entire city, so the baseball field.
So Rick, besides the 100,000 we save on trading the lights for the field, do you know how much we're gonna save on maintaining those fields? Because we
Well,
won't
we're
be
not
doing that.
okay, so that's the other thing that would come up. So the cost of, so right now, I'm sure the biggest thing that MAA and all hate that is their field prep cost right now. Like, I think they're paying $160 per game per field. We don't want to relive all that, but, that's where they are. That's part of this whole organization thing that we can do, that if we hand the fields over to them, when this contract is done, it's a 2-year contract, they can either contract separately with the Happy Mower, Bill's Landscaping, whoever, or do it themselves. I mean, they can do that. The high school is not going to allow them to use anyone else but themselves. They have to use the high school for their own prep for that, but they've already quoted $80 per game. So, which is half of what they're paying now. Any other questions? Yes.
How does it really affect the amount of times we would use all 4 fields at
Park Arthur?
Park Arthur? Is it going
Tournaments?
to diminish the number of uses in total, or?
Yes.
It will,
Yeah,
right?
because they're going to be pulling.
Any
So
guess on that?
There's sometime, no, I'm not far enough in the loop on that, but there is parts of seasons that they overlap. The varsity baseball ends, varsity baseball can go as late as June, but most of those games are on the road by then. Those are playoffs. And they start in April. But just because their season doesn't mean they have games there every night or at the same time. You can do. I mean, one of the things we're talking about is having double headers where the junior Warriors play an earlier game and the varsity plays afterwards, and it's just to build more community events type of thing like that.
My understanding is that after the price was what became the 160 or 165, whatever it is, the number of uses of those fields was cut considerably by
Sure,
MAA because
they
of
couldn't
that.
afford it.
Yeah. So we have already diminished the amount of use of the fields for the time being by that.
Could be.
And so I was wondering if we're going to increase the use or decrease the use
Well,
in
I
coming
would
years
guess,
as a result of that.
I would guess that, if
Under
they have
this
the ability to
proposal.
control their cost on it, they're gonna go back to using them if they can.
So we could actually increase the use from where it's been the last year, this past year,
Possibly,
possibly. Okay.
I'd be guessing.
It's so hard to tell with use. It's
Yeah.
so with weather. Like this year right now, our fields are open. No one else's fields are open. I mean, we are packed like you wouldn't believe. This is an anomaly year.
Yeah.
I mean, we got tournaments almost all the time.
We had
Yeah.
some out of
For
area
this whole other
tournament all
reason.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our fields are open,
Yeah.
There's just, people need fields, so.
I was just gonna ask, what do you need from us?
Just your blessing to let me go forward, and, I mean, you're not approving anything at this point, but I didn't want to get too far down the line and have you guys all say, what are you doing? Yeah, so, and if there's red flags or something that you want me to look into or make sure I, don't go a certain direction, just let me know.
We need a motion?
No.
I've got your consensus, I think.
Can you send us the cliff notes on this?
Sure.
I mean, just so.
The pros and cons, right?
Yeah. Can I
Pros
do
and
that
cons.
once I'm still trying to get together?
Yeah, that's fine.
I've met with the baseball organizations twice. They sent me a list of 25 questions, which I answered, and now I want to get back with them after they've gotten my responses to things. So let me get together with them, and then I'll give you an update on where we're
Yeah,
at.
we need
My concerns are season conflicts, what's going to become of Park
Sure.
Arthur? There's been a huge investment in that park,
Absolutely, yeah.
so, okay.
Big investment.
We definitely need plenty of updates, so,
Yeah.
as it goes.
That's why I think I'm hoping I'm keeping you guys up to date more than you're used to, so, if I'm not, just let me know. So what this will mean is we are not going to do it, that is the one thing that we're going to. So the one thing you guys are agreeing on to right now is we are not doing Park Arthur for this year, because, you know, we're at a point right now where we kind of have to let it go.
I have to have a decision. Here's the deal. I need to either.
Yeah, doesn't mean you can't come back to this later, you know.
Yeah.
But it's going to affect playing surfaces and things like that, so, you know, that's the only thing I gotta let you guys know, because.
The reason why is just, if we go forward now, I have a time period, I want to try to get that grass to grow in the fall, cut it 2 or 3 times, so that when June hits of next year, that's all I'm saying. So you're basically saying, you're telling me not to do it, that's fine, I don't have a problem, it's just, now I know, and I gotta let the contractors know too, so.
So what happens to our budget plans for this year then? With that, if we've,
I would still move forward for, are you talking about 1, 2, and 3?
whatever we had planned this year.
Well, 4 would just go.
And I can bring that back as a memo. I did talk to Sharon on how we would do the funding of this.
Okay.
Because this money was coming out of landfill. There's some other things that aren't, and we do have to move things around a little bit to get it to work, but it does work, so.
So there is a plan for that already?
Yes.
Conceived, okay.
So the plan would be just no field 4.
Right.
I just need that, no.
Yes. Okay? That's all I had for Cow tonight, so can I get a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:37. We are reconvening well, we just had a break, so.
We're okay.
Let's jump back to the Common Council. We are under,
Committee reports, I think.
yes, review of committee reports. Finance Committee from June 9th. Those are, do we accept those, or?
We did the consent.
Okay. First reading of ordinances and possible second reading if rules are waived. Ordinance number 1447, an ordinance to amend the zoning map and 2020 comprehensive plan of the city of Muskego, B-4, RM-1 and PD-382 PD by Cornerstone Development. This is just the first reading, so we'll come back for a second reading. Any information that anyone needs for the second reading? If there is, just let us know. Going back to license approval. Approval of the outside dance permit for Crush Wine Bar on Parkland Drive for August 7th from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m.
Move to approve.
Discussion?
Yeah, I have a discussion. I'm just going to mention the word consistency on every one of these when we go through it, because I feel bad that we couldn't even come up with a plan for the first dance permit. And we just totally shut them down. I think that was an awful mistake by the council.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of outside dance permit with a temporary amendment to license premise for the Suburban Bourbon on Janesville Road for June 4th, 2021. June 5th previously was approved of 2021 from 4 p.m. till 10 p.m. and August 7th, 2020 from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to use the word consistency again.
Any other comments? All's in favor? Just a question. So what happens to that June 5th? Are we rescinding that, or is that stay open then, or?
I'll amend his license to remove that and replace it with June 4th.
Okay, so does this motion really say that, or?
It doesn't say that.
So can I ask somebody to amend the motion here to remove the June 5th, 2021 that was previously approved? Otherwise, we're approving, because we previously had approved June 5th, 2021.
Correct.
He's changing the date to June 4th, so if we just approve this as is right now, he's still going to have that June 5th, and we should remove that. So if somebody could make that a motion to amend to just say to remove the June 5th.
So move.
Second.
Discussion on the motion to amend. All those in favor of the motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is amended. Now, all those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? think we have a record for amended motions tonight. Approval of outside dance permit for Mark's Pioneer on a Pioneer Drive for July 18th, 2020 from 7 PM till 10 PM, July 25th, 2020 from 2 PM till 8 PM, August 9th, 2020 from 2 PM till 8 PM, August 22nd and 29th, my birthday, if anyone's taking notes, 2020, 3 PM till 10 PM.
Move to approve.
Really begging on that one.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Wait, who-
Yeah.
I
gotta
We had a
mention,
motion to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I missed it.
We got it.
So,
So who was second? I'm sorry.
Eileen.
Okay, thank you.
I gotta mention that there's a lot of dates here, and we didn't allow someone else to do it, so gotta mention the word consistency again.
all right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of outside dance permit and temporary amendment to a licensed premise for Tailspin Bar and Grill on Martin Drive for July 23rd, 2020, August 6th and 20th, 2020, from 6 PM till 9 PM.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah. There's more than one date here. I gotta mention the word consistency again.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, that was a place of contention in the past with when they've had lots of noise for the neighborhoods and so forth, but it's under different owners now, and I understand.
And I guess I will comment on this one. This is an example of what a bar owner can do to help themselves, and I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying with this, Mr. Wolf. But I am saying this for anyone that's listening out there that owns an establishment. They started with when Andrew owned Lucky's, and Jennifer is doing more of the same. She's immersing herself into the neighborhood and community and communicating with people. And specifically like people across the street who had huge problems when it was a previous owner and previous bar is now a patron. And that's a win-win for everyone, and communication helps. It just, and hopefully every other bar owner out there either knows that, will learn from that, and use that as a model. So that's my editorial.
So this one has a chance to establish a new record.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of Class B retail license and sale of fermented malt beverages and intoxicating liquors for Pops Marketplace LLC, DBA Pops Marketplace, on Janesville Road. No outside sales. Plan Commission approval required.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of outside dance permit for Bass Bay Brew House on Audemars Drive from July 25th, 2020, from 7 PM till 11 PM.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. Have to mention, it's on the lake, it's till 11 o'clock at night, and I'll just say the word consistency again.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of change of agent, Justin Pancon, you could remember, Panconin, for Class A liquor license held by Ultra Mart Foods LLC, Pick and Save.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of outside dance permit and temporary amendment to license premise for Lucky's at the Lodge on Janesville Road for August 7th, 2020, from 5 PM till, this one says midnight, so if you want to,
Motion to 11, right?
But we
did
didn't,
that.
because we
did that.
amended it before,
Yeah, we
doesn't
amended
I
it?
thought we
so
did.
you amended it on your recommendation, do you have to amend it here as well?
Yes.
So I would need another motion.
I thought we amended it and sent it up.
You did send it up, but that's only a recommendation.
So the recommendation's been in the item on my
Yeah.
Move to
So it
amend.
needs to be amended again
Move to amend.
to
we need to-
11 PM.
11.
But we need to put it on the floor, I think.
Yes. First, I need someone to make that motion.
Oh, get it on the floor?
Yeah.
Move to put it on the floor.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Now I need a motion to amend.
Move to amend to 11.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All those, any further discussion on the amended motion? All those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously.
But I have a comment. You didn't ask for comments.
I'm sorry, thought I did.
I have to say that, I think I've driven the point home. I won't do this at every meeting, but I am going to mention the word consistency again on this one. And I will hopefully not have to bring it up in the future, but I think that, again, we did an injustice tonight, that we didn't come up with any type of solution, that we should really dig deep in our hearts next time and help a business out and come up with some type of solution for them. When they're in front of us and make concessions, we should respect that as much as we respect everything here from the neighborhoods as well.
Any other discussion? All right, voucher approval.
Nope, I got that, forgot that. Motion to approve utility vouchers, the amount of $115,411.08.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed?
We're dying out.
Passes unanimously.
Okay, no tax vouchers. Motion to approve general fund vouchers in the amount of $273,547.13.
Second.
You got the second?
John
All
Engler.
right. Discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
And motion to approve wire transfers in the amount of $371,077.91.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. City officials' reports, there are none. Communications miscellaneous business as authorized by law. Anyone have any communications? Any updates from liaisons?
Yes. You got one, go ahead.
Little Muskego Lake has been meeting by virtual and is planning for next month, delaying their meeting date by 1 week. So it'll be second Thursday of August for the next meeting. On the lake, the less than the proposal for the chemical, but chemical has been successful where used, and the weed control is going good for this year. Of course, the lake has had some high water because of the rains, so there's been some no wake times.
Not as many as they wanted.
Yeah. And that from the police department, I guess. Okay, that's the report.
Alderman Wolf?
And then I just wanted an update on the senior taxi that, with the virus that's going on, they are looking into trying to make their cars more secure and looking at other options for barriers and things like that. So I think there'll be more information forthcoming as we go forward. And I think I sent something over.
I responded today.
Okay, I sent something over to the mayor today that they requested some information on deadlines and stuff. So we'll probably have more information as they move forward. I don't know what he responded. So.
Any other updates? Hearing none. Any future agenda items? Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did you get that?
We're adjourned at 7:49. Have a good night, everyone.
That was a short meeting.
I don't hit the button fast enough.
That many motions.
I know.
He was consistently low.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.